Hello, everybody. It's Coach Daniel speaking, and I'm welcoming all our newcomers, newbie English speakers, to our Emotional English podcast, where we are learning English by listening emotional stories. This is our third episode, not second, not first, third episode, where we are facing new mini story called The Golden Touch. It's not my mini story. It's a cool mini story with a moral which I found on the internet. I hope you will find it interesting and fun. So, first of all, I will read the whole story. You have to listen. Next, I will ask you a lot of questions. And as always, you have to answer my questions immediately, fulfilled with energy, and just be positive when you are answering these, right? The Golden Touch. Once there lived a greedy man in a small town. His name was Lorenzo. He was very rich and he loved gold and all things fancy. But he loved his daughter more than anything. One day he chanced upon a fairy. The fairy's hair was caught in a few tree branches. He helped her out, but as his greediness took over, he realized that he had an opportunity to become richer by asking for a wish in return, by helping her out. The fairy granted him a wish. He said, "All that I touch should turn to gold." And his wish was granted by the grateful fairy. The greedy man rushed home to tell his wife and daughter about his wish, all the while touching stones and pebbles and watching them convert into gold. Once he got home, his daughter rushed to greet him. As soon as he bent down to scoop her up in his arms, she turned into a gold statue. He was devastated and started to cry and trying to bring his daughter back to life. He realized his folly and spent the rest of his days searching for the fairy to take away his wish. So the moral of the story, greed will always lead to downfall. Greed will always lead to downfall. I love this story. It's really cool. It's very fascinating, isn't it? So now I will read a little extract from the story, and then I will ask you a lot of questions. Okay, let's do it. Once there lived a greedy man in a small town. His name was Lorenzo. He was very rich, and he loved gold and all things fancy. But he loved his daughter more than anything. So was there a generous man or a greedy man? Of course, there lived a greedy man. Greedy man with a lot of money, rich and greedy. Was there lived a greedy man or a greedy crocodile? Greedy man, not a greedy crocodile, okay? Crocodile, it's, like a lizard. Where did the greedy man live? The greedy man lived in a small town. Was he lived in a city, village, or a small town? Greedy man lived in a small town. What was the greedy man's name? His name was Lorenzo. Lorenzo, the greedy man. Was Lorenzo rich or poor? Oh, of course, Lorenzo was very rich. He loved gold and all things fancy. So was he wealthy or broke? Lorenzo was wealthy. A lot of money, a lot of gold. Broke, it's an opposite of wealthy. It means poor, very poor, without success and expensive items. Fancy, it's an expensive items. And broke means none of it. Did man love cheap stuff or expensive stuff? This man, Lorenzo. Of course, he loved, expensive stuff. He loved expensive stuff. Fancy stuff. And what about love to his daughter? Did he love her as well? Yep, of course. So Lorenzo loved his daughter more than anything. More than anything. More than gold, more than fancy things, more than that. Okay? Did he love his daughter more than Ferrari? Of course, yeah. Did he love his daughter less than his house? No, not less. So he loved his daughter more than anything. It means more than Ferrari, more than gold, more than all things, fancy things, okay? Let's go to the next part. One day, he chanced upon a fairy. The fairy's hair was caught in a few tree branches. He helped her out, but as his greediness took over, he realized that he had an opportunity to become richer by asking for a wish in return, by helping her out. The fairy granted him a wish. He said, "All that I touch should turn to gold," and his wish was granted by the grateful fairy. So did Zig the Goblin chanced upon a fairy? So who chanced upon a fairy? Not Zig the Goblin, right? So it was Lorenzo. And who is fairy? Fairy is a creature with wings, like a little wings, little creature who can give you or grant you a wish. All right? A wish, whatever you want. So what happened with the fairy's hair? All right. So the hair caught in a few branches, right? Who helps her out? Lorenzo. Lorenzo helps her out. Whose greediness took over? Lorenzo's greediness. Lorenzo's greediness took over. Lorenzo's greediness or generosity took over. Of course, it's Lorenzo's greediness. Greediness means the love of money. It's like the love which you can't control. You love it so badly, and you have no idea how to love something else. You're addicted to money. So who realized that had an opportunity to become richer? Who realized that? Lorenzo again, right? Lorenzo realized that he had an opportunity to become richer. Lorenzo had an opportunity to become richer by how? He had an opportunity to become richer by asking for a wish in return, by helping the fairy out. Makes sense now. So Lorenzo had an opportunity to become richer. So Lorenzo had an opportunity to become richer by helping whom? By helping fairy, this creature. So what crocodile granted Lorenzo? Nothing. There is no crocodile there. There is only fairy. And fairy granted granted Lorenzo what? A wish. A wish, right? So, fairy granted a wish to Lorenzo. So, what fairy granted Lorenzo? A wish. A wish. So, who asked a wish in return by helping fairy? Lorenzo. Lorenzo asked a wish in return by helping fairy. So, why did he do that? To become richer, right? Richer than he was. To become super rich. What did he say to fairy? So he said, all that I touch should turn to gold. So did he say normally or he yelled loudly to fairy? Yeah, he said normally. He said, what? All that I touch should turn to gold, right? Absolutely. So the greedy man rushed home to tell his wife and daughter about his wish, all the while touching stones and pebbles and watching them convert into gold. So how did Lorenzo go home? How? Did he rush fast or walk slowly? Of course, he rushed. He rushed home to tell his wife and daughter about his wish. So who did he speak with when he came home? Zig the Goblin? Zimba the Kangaroo? No. Of course, he was planning to talk with his wife and daughter, right? Did he touch the stones and pebbles while speaking with his wife and daughter? No. He touched the stones and pebbles while rushing home. Okay? So did he all the while watching them convert into gold? Absolutely, he did. Did he watch or did he ignore it? Lorenzo watched. He was watching it. And who is Lorenzo? The man, right? The man, the rich man, Lorenzo. Once he got home, his daughter rushed to greet him. As soon as he bent down to scoop her up in his arms, she's turned into a gold statue. He was devastated and started crying and trying to bring his daughter back to life. He realized his folly and spent the rest of his days searching for the fairy to take away his wish. So did his dog rush to greet him? No, not the dog, right? So who rushed to greet him? His daughter. His daughter rushed to greet him. So who turned into a gold statue? That's right. So it was his daughter, right? His daughter. How did it happen? Okay, not an easy one, right? So who scooped daughter up in his arms? Who scooped daughter up in his arms? Joe Biden? Did Joe Biden scoop daughter up in his arms? No. Joe Biden, it's an American president, right? So he didn't do that. Lorenzo scooped daughter up in his arms, right? Was his back bent or straight? Of course, his back was bent because he bent down. To do what? He bent down to scoop his daughter up in his arms, right? Absolutely. So did his daughter turn to silver statue? Not silver, right? Golden statue. Why Why did it happen? All right. So because Lorenzo, he asked for a wish from a fairy, right? He said, what? All that I touch should turn to gold, right? All what I touched should turn to gold. That's what he said. What's happened next? Lorenzo was devastated. Who was devastated? Lorenzo, right? This greedy man. So he was devastated. So was he optimistic, unworried, or was he devastated? Yes, devastated means very worried, non-optimistic at all. Devastated, very worried. So what did Lorenzo try to do? He tried to bring his daughter back to life, right? He tried to bring his daughter back to life. Did his daughter back to life? No, it didn't work, right? So did Lorenzo realize his success? No, not the success. Folly. He realized his folly. What was it? It was not the success. It was craziness. His folly. Folly means craziness. His insanity. All right? So what did he spend the rest of his day searching for? So Lorenzo spent the rest of his days searching for the fairy, right? And why? Why did he spend the rest of his days searching for the fairy? To take away his wish, isn't it? So did Lorenzo want new wish? One wish more. Or he want to cancel previous one. Means deactivate. To deactivate previous one. He wanted to take away his wish. He didn't want to have his golden touch anymore. Lorenzo was trying to bring his daughter back to life. That was more important for him, right? So, and do you remember the moral of the story? The moral of the story, greed will always lead to downfall. So, what is the moral of the story? Greed will always lead to downfall. Greed will always lead to success? No, not to success, right? To downfall. Greed will always lead to downfall. Greed will always lead to failure? Yes, to failure, to downfall, to something really bad, okay? To downfall. So this is the end of our mini story for today. And please listen to it again and again and again until you memorize all new and old vocabulary, all the connections, what you need. Just listen to it as more times as you want. If you have any comments or feedback, please send it to me to my Instagram page, www.instagram.com, BONDARISON. 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 Thank you and take care. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.